You know, I've had people ask me too. They'll say, "Hey, Kim, what are you doing? You look lighter and everything." You know, and I've told them, Sandra and I, and I'm gonna tell you, I am not a, you know, I've always exercised and that kind of thing. But I met someone at a mastermind event we were doing with Ken Cragen, and she was so impressive. We all wanted her to start working with us because she's like a CSI medical specialist. In other words, she gets to the root cause. She doesn't treat symptoms. She finds out exactly why you're going through what you go through. At any rate, in fact, one day, it was one time Sandra and I were in New York City, and Sandra broke out on her face, and it was so bad that we were going to skyscrapers, just big in New York, just going to any, you know, tall building to go see if there was a dermatologist or skin specialist in that building. And then we would go into the doctor's office and say, "We have no appointment, we have nothing, my wife is breaking out, we don't know what this is." I mean, just tons of issues. I was addicted to nose drops. I would take, anybody here take Afrin? Anybody? I see a few hands up, but, and I'd take, you know, Allegra and Clarendon and all that stuff. And so I just always thought it was like I'm just allergic just to the ragweed and all that stuff, until I went and saw this doctor, and I had my blood drawn, and she did a whole analysis, and 3 weeks later, she broke down that there was a lot of foods that I was eating that were good foods that were creating inflammation inside of me. Sandra found out there were some things she was eating that were creating inflammation. We found out that we were eating stuff that we thought was so good and healthy, like almonds. Almonds. It was one of the worst things we could possibly eat. So why am I telling you this? What I'm telling you is this. I asked her, I said, "Dr. Ridley," I said, she's busy beyond belief. I asked her if she'd come to this conference. I asked her if she would come and set up the blood screening for people. Because I'll tell you something, ladies. Food, I've discovered, is no different than shooting yourself up with cocaine. In other words, even foods that you think are good for you, they're taking you down. And if you don't know what's taking you down, you have no idea how it's affecting your mood, your energy, your vitality, your disposition, all kinds of things are going on. And I tell you, it's completely transformed my life. So this woman, she's on page 57 in the program guide. You'll see her picture. Now you're going to see her live. Please help me welcome Dr. Jennifer Ridley.
Thank you. So I want to give you a picture, and I want you to see if you can identify with this. You wake up in the morning and you're exhausted. You tell yourself, "I'll work out tomorrow. I'm too tired to do it today." You make your way into your kitchen where you tell your family, "Don't talk to me yet. I haven't had my first cup of coffee." Then you go on into your office where you struggle with brain fog, focus, and lack of energy. Finally, you make it to lunch. You go eat, only by the time you're done eating, you're so bloated, you have to undo that first button on your britches. And you think to yourself, "I shouldn't have even eaten because I feel worse when I'm done than when I started." You make it through your day, you get home, you should be happy to see your family, only you're so tired, they mostly just irritate you. You just want to be left alone. You get to bed, now your husband's giving you that look. "No, I'm too tired." And you turn over, turn the light out, now you're awake. Now your mind is racing, thinking about what you have to do the next day. I want you to imagine instead waking up with amazing energy, excited about your day, excited to do your workout. You go to lunch, you get done, you still feel good. No bloating. You get through your afternoon, you don't need coffee and stimulants to get through your day. And you get to the end of your day, you still have energy to go home and spend with your family and your friends. You go to bed, you fall asleep, and you wake up feeling rested. See, I'm an entrepreneur like all of you, and I know how important it is to have that second day and not that first day, because it impacts our bottom line. If we can't focus, we don't have energy, that's a big difference in that day. And certainly if you can't go into work, you don't get paid, right? We're working for ourselves. Our health makes a big difference. Think about this. If you were driving down the road in your car and your check engine light came on in your dash, what do? I take my car to my mechanic, have him look under the hood, figure out what made that check engine light come on. When he fixes my engine and that light goes out, I know it's safe to drive my car. What if instead I pulled over to the side of the road, I found the fuse that made that check engine light come on, and I just ripped that fuse out, and then kept on driving down the road expecting everything to be okay? That sounds completely crazy, right? Yet I absolutely know many of you in this room are doing that with your most important asset, your health. If you have high cholesterol and you're just taking a pill to make that cholesterol go down, but you don't know what made the cholesterol go up, you're pulling that fuse. If you have sleep problems, insomnia, and you're just taking your Ambien or your Tylenol PM, and you don't know why you have insomnia, you're pulling that fuse. Acid reflux, chronically taking Tums, Rolaids, Protonix, Nexium, Prilosec, and you don't know why you have acid reflux, you're pulling that fuse. That's a really big deal. Let me tell you about my patient. We're going to call him Robert. Robert comes to me and I'm going through his paperwork, and he wants to work on brain fog, energy, lose some weight. But when I go down and I look at his medication list, in his medication list I see that he's chronically using nose spray and antihistamines. And so I ask him, why didn't you list this in your conditions? Well, I have that handled. As long as I take my antihistamines 5 times a day, as long as I have my nose spray in my pocket, I'm good. See, like many of you, he's thinking as long as he's got his symptoms managed, it's gone. But when I ask him, what happens when you quit taking these things? He's like, well, it comes right back. I can't be without him. And he starts to panic if he has to get on an airplane and he doesn't have his nose spray with him. A really important area where I see a lot of my patients doing this is in the area of the GI tract. Probably 90% of the patients that I see have constipation, bloating, IBS, acid reflux. And this is a really important area of your body. You cannot afford to be pulling that fuse here. This is where a majority of your immune system lives. You think about it, that's an important design because you're going to breathe or eat everything into the human body. You want it to pass through your immune system first. Unless you start chronically having problems in this area and you're ignoring them, you start taking down your immune system. So it's no surprise to me that autoimmune illness is rising like crazy in our country. Autoimmune thyroid, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, lupus. This is also where you absorb all of your nutrition. There's probably many people in this room that have been tested for vitamin D or B12 only to be told that it's low. And I know that's true because I do a test in my clinic where I look at all the vitamins and minerals. Because to me, it's just as important, the balance, as it is whether they're high or they're low. So I look at them all together. And I've done this test hundreds and hundreds of times. And I've only had 2 come back without deficiencies. And one of them was my own test. Why would that be? It's not because we're not eating enough food in this country, and yet we're still malnourished. I'll tell you, it's because of malabsorption, because we're not taking care of this critical area. We're not absorbing our nutrition. That's huge. So let me tell you another patient story. We're going to call her Ann. Ann comes to me with high cholesterol. Cholesterol's running about 330. In most cases, you want to see it closer to 200. I'm not so worked up about the numbers, but what that tells me is that she's inflamed. Because cholesterol is your body's natural anti-inflammatory. Cholesterol also is what your body makes estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and vitamin D out of. Cholesterol is also what your body uses to heal your brain. So it's not completely your enemy, right? So I'm thinking, what's driving her cholesterol up? That's what we need to figure out. So it's usually inflammation, so I start looking for sources of inflammation. I test her for all of her vitamins and minerals. She's critically low in a few of them. We get that handled. That brings her cholesterol down about 50 points. So now we're somewhere around 280. It's a lot better, but we're still not where we need to be. So the next thing I do I test her for food allergies and sensitivities because I know food can be your first and best medicine. Unfortunately, it can also be a huge source of inflammation. Probably you've all heard of gluten. Gluten's just one of hundreds of foods that we can test for. So you know that your diet can make a big impact on your health. Because if I told you to eat 1,200 calories in a day, and on this day, you ate 1,200 calories of fast food, junk food, and candy bars. On this day, you're eating 1,200 calories, grass-fed beef, free-range chicken, fruits, vegetables. Which day do you think you feel better? Probably this day, right? Because this day, you're not inflamed. This day, you're signaling your DNA differently. Even though the same amount of calories, the foods you eat make a difference. So when I test people for food allergies and sensitivities, it helps me put these foods in the right categories for them. So when I tested Ann, she came back with a problem to almonds and carrots. Now, instead of them helping her lose weight and lower her cholesterol, they're doing the opposite. They need to come back and go in this other category. So my big message here, please quit covering up your root causes. Please quit medicating away your symptoms. Work with a practitioner that when you ask, why is this happening, they help you figure that out. That patient Robert I was talking about earlier, I did that same test on Robert. Robert, when we got his diet right, found his root cause. He lost 30 pounds, has kept it off. No more need for nose spray or antihistamines at all. That's a big win for him. And if you in your life are covering up your symptoms, they're still going on underneath, and they're going to start to pick up momentum. And many of you may already be feeling that. When you feel your health is slowly going downhill, picking up speed and getting worse and worse, it's because you've been ignoring those root causes for a long time. And we're all working our tails off, right? So when we finally get vacation time, when we finally get to our retirement, we want to have the energy to enjoy it. So please start taking care of the most important part of that, and that's your health. Because I want everyone in here to have optimal health and stop just living and start really living well. Thank you.